Donovan Mitchell just did the Cleveland Cavaliers a massive favor.
That's right. Donovan Mitchell is a Cleveland Cavalier again. He re-signs a 4-year deal worth $273 million. Noah, I want to get your take on this, particularly in how it affects the rest of the offseason for the Cavs. But the question of Donovan Mitchell and whether or not he wants to remain in Cleveland is answered once again.
Yeah, and that's the biggest favor Donovan Mitchell could have done for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We could have went into the 26-27 season with Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs and questioning whether they're committed to each other long term or not. Donovan Mitchell could have waited until 2027 to sign this deal to get an extra $80 million in terms of a longer term extension because it would have been 5 years instead of 4 years. Instead, he signs it. He gets the peace of mind that he will get his money no matter what right now. And I think both sides are happy at this. Yes, it's a super max. Yes, they're paying him a lot of money. It breaks down to a ton of money. I mean, $273 million is nothing to scoff at. I think me and
Right.
Erik can both attest to that. But with all that being said, everything's locked up and we're moving in a direction where we don't have to really worry about the apron rule right now. We still have things on the pressure cooker on the back end, LeBron James. And now we could just talk about what this team needs to do moving forward instead of wondering, does Donovan want to go to the Knicks? Does Donovan want to do this? Does Donovan want to do that? No, he wants to be in Cleveland like he's been saying since basically his first year here.
Yeah, and I want to be clear on something. Mitchell has clearly been the star of this team since he signed from Utah. I know there's a lot of questions. His performance has been solid, though. I mean, he's been a standout, and in his 4 years, he's averaged 26.7 points, 5.3 assists, 4.6 rebounds. Like, he is an all-star for this team, despite the playoff woes. I think that's always the biggest question mark around this team. Um, I was thinking earlier when I knew we were doing this show, I was going to ask you, are we the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NBA right now? We make the playoffs constantly, and granted, we just went to the Eastern Conference Finals, but we go to the playoffs and we seem to underperform every year. Uh, the question I don't think is on Mitchell though. We gave him a lot of flack this year, don't get me wrong, but now it's going to be how can we surround him and continue to surround him with players that will make a difference and put us over that hump.
Yeah, I think this is finally the first move in a list of a lot of moves that the Cleveland Cavaliers can make. And I want to talk a little bit more about that with you because, the offseason's been quiet for us so far. This is finally the first foot to fall, and I'm ready to see more. But first, let's take a pause and listen to our sponsor, Rambler Reserve.
At the Office is brought to you by Rambler Reserve.
And we're wearing the hats right now.
We are wearing the hats right now, and honestly, this might be one of the best looking things I've put on my head in years.
Rambler Reserve is a Cleveland apparel brand based on history for people who love this city and just can't shut up about it.
So, us?
Us, exactly. Whether it be hats, tees, hoodies, you're going to the game, or you're going to the Muni lot. It's perfect apparel for any Cleveland fan out there.
If your friends say you ramble too much about sports, just own it. Head on over to ramblerreserve.com and use code ATO10 to get 10% off your order.
That's ATO10. ATO like at the office 10, ramblerreserve.com.
Yeah, I want to get back into it, Noah, because you're exactly right. This is the first you said foot to fall. I've never heard that one, but this is the
Shoot
first
a
foot to
drop.
fall, shoot a drop, whatever, in the Cavs offseason. I think we were all getting a little worried because teams, especially teams in the East, are getting a lot stronger. You have Miami making big moves. Philadelphia all of a sudden could be a finals contender, and the Cavs have done nothing. And that's a scary position to be in when again we did reach the Eastern Conference Finals, but watching that team, you might have said we underperformed, and yet we've stayed silent, and now it seems like we need to do something.
It does seem like we need to do something. The first move that really irked me to happen, a lot of this, like Jalen Brown, I think was, us, overshooting a little bit. Same thing with Giannis. Like, I didn't think the team was going to do that. And I've said that in the past on the show. But looking at like some of the smaller additions this team could make in addition to like a LeBron, because I'm still very much on that hype train of LeBron coming to Cleveland. Like, I think that's going to happen. I think this helps kind of solidify it because now LeBron knows that Donovan Mitchell is locked in and committed to what the vision is for the Cleveland Cavaliers for the next couple of years, whether whether LeBron's here for just 1 more year, 2 more years, or he does some crazy stuff and plays even longer into his 40s. Putting that to the side, Rui going to the Clippers was a big deal to me because Rui Hashimura being a center, a backup center that I thought fit well for the Cleveland Cavaliers, especially with LeBron. He likes a big that can shoot a three. Was a move that kind of frustrated me because I thought he could be had for Cleveland, and we're kind of just sitting and waiting. And James Harden is sitting and waiting to sign his extension so that way we can sign players. And it's just I want to see them do something. We've talked about Jonathan Kuminga as a positional need and a person that could be added in. Like, there's a lot of names that aren't going to sit on this free agency board for too much longer. And I want to see them get brought in here as opposed to the West, the East, the Central, the North, the South. It doesn't matter. I want them to be Cavs.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I think the Cavs' next move is to solidify James Harden's contract now and
Yep.
sign LeBron James. And I know that it's the LeBron tracker all over again, and I can't believe we're at this point again. But Cavs are the odds-on favorite right now to sign LeBron. There's obviously talk of Golden State as well. It seems like those have cooled a little bit, and they may well be screwed because they kind of position themselves to sign him. But
Yeah.
Cavs are the favorites right now to sign LeBron, and I wouldn't be surprised if those moves happen. Is LeBron enough? Just him, no other moves. Is he enough to get this team where we want them to be?
That's the funny question, right? Because it turns around and it goes to Evan Mobley. And I talked about this in our last video here on the page with Benchwarmer Sports. Go check it out. If LeBron can unlock Evan Mobley to another degree, give him some of that mentality, do what LeBron did here with like Kyrie Irving, for example, in his second stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers, yeah, maybe he could be the move. But we also have now lost Dean Wade. We've lost Keon Ellis. We're probably going to trade Dennis Schroeder. There's a chance Max Strus isn't on this roster anymore. Like, we need more depth on this roster that isn't just, okay, we're going to roll with the young guys of Naquan Tomlin, Jalen Tyson, Tyrese Proctor, in terms of the guys that look to get more playing time in this next year. So he could be the move that works for us, but I do think that there needs to be more. I want to turn our attention back to Donovan, right? Because that's the true breaking news here, and this all is foiled off of it. But there was an interesting part of Donovan Mitchell's contract. And I was just curious if you have ever seen, I know this isn't brand new or anything, but he has a trade kicker in his contract. Have you ever seen this before? Because this was kind of a new concept for me.
Well, break it down what it means and what it actually is for those that don't know what a trade kicker is.
So it's not a no trade clause, but it's damn well like, pretty much close to it. If the Cavaliers trade Donovan Mitchell, they have to give Donovan Mitchell a bonus of up to 15% of whatever's left on his contract. And he has a full trade kicker in his contract. So say they were to trade him tomorrow, they would owe him a ton of money that they would just have to pay him outright. So it's basically a no trade clause without having a full blown no trade clause, which I think is interesting because that could bite us on the back end if Donovan gets old and his athleticism falls and he's not the same player that he is. But it's another sign and another positive sign that the Cavs are all in on this next 2 year window to go out and win a championship, which is, again, a good sign for LeBron, a good sign for bringing in free agents and doing all the stuff that we just talked about. It's another sign to point to that.
Yeah, so trade kickers aren't really new in NBA. These happen every year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jalen Brown had one with the Celtics actually, which was
Interesting. I
like
didn't know
seven
that.
million or something like that. So this isn't new, but yeah, it's a good incentivized reason to make everything work, right? And I think that's what both parties have been looking for. The one thing that I want to put to rest, and I hope we could finally put to rest, Donovan Mitchell is happy here. I know Cleveland gets all the jokes, but he is clearly happy and has not wanted to go anywhere. Don't get me wrong, 200 some million-dollar reasons to stay here help as well. But as you said, he could have signed next year. He could have gotten more money, more years, and yet he's been willing and has been willing to stay here. And he's done nothing and said nothing but that over the course of the time he's been here. So I think we should be really happy with Donovan Mitchell, with this team getting this deal done. Now it's what can we do to further this team because more definitely has to happen. As we mentioned, the East is getting strong. It's interesting. with the moves being made. And who knows, maybe some of these won't work. Maybe Giannis to Miami isn't a match made in heaven like we're thinking it is. But Philly in particular, that's such an interesting team now, in my opinion. So where the Cavs stand in the East, knowing that you're still going to have a strong Boston, in my opinion. Obviously, New York's still going to be strong. Like the East is getting a lot stronger. Where do the Cavs stand right now, and how can they make this team better to make a run? Because we are, frankly, running out of time.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention Kawhi back to the Raptors as another storyline there too. Like that made them a much better team when you think about like Scotty Barnes and whatnot. And they gave us trouble in the playoffs. So we need to do something and not go with the mentality of staying pat like we have in years past, because it's just not enough with how good the NBA is going to be. On top of like Indiana getting Tyrese Halliburton back, and they made a finals run that they could have won if Tyrese didn't get hurt in game 7. So these are all storylines at play for what we need to do to continue to grow this roster and turn it into what it needs to be in a championship contender with the type of money that we're shelling out. You got to assume that they're going to be in at least the first apron, but they could push the second apron depending on what a LeBron deal looks like, or what if they bring in Kuminga or some of these other free agents that are out there. There's been some rumors about DeMar DeRozan since he got cut from the Kings, because he could come in for like a mid-level exception, maybe to chase a ring with Cleveland. Us and Miami are actually the two favorites on all the betting sites right now to land DeMar DeRozan, and I think that coincides with what's going on with LeBron and now this extension with Donovan Mitchell as well. You could like that move, you could hate that move. I'm indifferent, especially if he comes off of our bench. That's a pretty good bench scorer at this
I
point.
I actually really like DeMar DeRozan. I've always liked him. I think that it's more likely that he ends up where LeBron doesn't. I think those that lose out on LeBron have a good shot of signing DeMar DeRozan, maybe even teaming back up in Toronto, which would be a good fit. I'm not shaking my head because I don't like him as a player, not at all. I just don't think it's going to happen to the Cavs. I don't see it. And I don't know. I'm kind of off the bench would be great, but another 37-year-old like I don't know. I go back and forth, but I've always really appreciated his game. Don't get me wrong. But that was an interesting move. Obviously, the Kings dumping that contract and cutting him.
Yeah, and you were just speaking about things that we don't think are going to happen. And there was a funny moment that I want to highlight before we wrap this up from Cleveland Sports Twitter this morning. And that is one Daryl Ryder posting about how he believes Donovan Mitchell will not sign a contract extension. And if you look down at the bottom, that was at 8:57 a.m. And just 4 minutes later, 4 minutes later, Shams breaks the news that he's signing a contract extension. So that was a hilarious moment to wake up to this morning, because I saw Daryl's tweet and then I'm scrolling on X reading about how upset I am about Team USA and whatnot. And then I get a push notification that we sign him to an extension. And I just started to laughing while I was laying in bed.
Well, I mean, Daryl in his tweet says he'll be pleasantly surprised, so he's probably happy this morning, I would guess.
Yes, I think he's happy as well. And he's been having fun with it on Twitter. Everybody's poking fun at him, even Ken Carmen and whatnot. And he's making the jokes back because it's the coldest of cold takes, right? That it happens 4 minutes later. Overall, happy with the Donovan Mitchell extension? Are you surprised that it was this summer and not next summer?
I'm a little surprised. I thought we would be waiting a little longer. I thought Donovan would want to weigh his options a little more. So, like Daryl, pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I'm definitely happy with this. I think it's a good move. The next moves are critical, though. I think what happens next, and we'll be watching obviously and waiting. I think that's going to determine how high and how far this team goes, because we have not gotten better yet, and other teams have. So I think that that's next steps are going to be crucial in seeing that this team vies for a championship.
And for all of those next steps, all the breaking news, all the latest updates for your Cleveland Cavaliers, Cleveland Guardians, and Cleveland Browns, make sure you stay tuned here. Comment, like, subscribe, check out At the Office. We do a ton of content on all the different Cleveland sports teams. And if you're feeling froggy and want to hear your voice here on the show, leave us a voicemail, 216-260-3433.
On that note, the debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.